Really excited about this episode of Safe Space specifically because I think this is something a lot of people are dealing with right now. And I think it applies to so many of you out there that are watching. I want to welcome you guys in. I'm Ryan Bass, one of our anchors here at CBS. And I'm pleased to be welcomed and joined by here Dr. Nick Joyce, who is a clinical psychologist, has a PhD. So Dr. Joyce, thank you so much for joining us here. I know you have one of your clinics up here in Lutz. So for those that are in the Tampa Bay area, certainly can be familiar with and kind of come to know your work here locally. I love that you've kind of been all over the University of Akron, University of Michigan, Purdue. You got your USF polo on too. So I like to see the local pride. We were talking some earlier as well about your experiences and how that kind of laid the foundation for what you do. But specifically our topic today is on burnout. And when you and I were conversing prior to you coming on here, you had mentioned that a lot of your clients are dealing with burnout these days. What have they said to you, and what's just some of the common things that they're stressed about?
Yeah, I work with a lot of what I call normal people. These are people who generally are doing pretty good day to day. They generally have pretty good mental health, and they're dealing with difficulties that then affect their mental health, brings up anxiety, brings up depression, brings up stress, brings up burnout. And burnout is basically a state of constant exhaustion that's basically by having too much or not enough in their life. And so the pandemic changed how a lot of people did things. And actually, for some people, the way things got changed helped them. But for a lot of people, the way things changed negatively affected them. And so, for instance, in my field of mental health therapy, we've seen a giant increase of people coming in. We have seen more people coming for couples counseling than we've ever seen. The rates of that have just skyrocketed, right? And so I've taken on more people in my practice. And at a certain point, if I don't know what my limit is, I become burned out. I start to like, it's too much. I start to not like what I'm doing. I start to be less effective because I'm spread too thin. Burnout's really about being spread too thin. And we see it a lot, especially in jobs. We've seen a lot in our medical professionals right now because they're having to do all this extra stuff because of the coronavirus, right? Even just small bureaucratic things like having to fill out extra paperwork is an added thing on an already packed day. And eventually, after days and weeks and months and possibly years of that, it's a very slow moving process. We wake up one day and we go, oh, I am not feeling the same way that I used to feel a month ago.
You mentioned the pandemic, which I find very interesting because I think burnout has always been a part of our lives, but I think the pandemic has brought that more to the forefront. Do you agree with that? Like, I think that's made us more aware that burnout exists, and I think maybe exacerbated it even more. Earlier on, I think, and I was reading some studies in the pandemic, that it actually kind of increased productivity because people were appreciative that they had jobs and that they had somewhere to go. But now, as this pandemic has dragged on, that burnout has persisted, and it's not just in work, right? It's in relationships, it's in everyday life. I think we think of it mainly just in the employment stage, but it kind of infiltrates a lot of places of our lives.
Yeah, you can get burned out on anything. You can get burned out on a hobby. You can get burned out on your kids. But we see it a lot at work. And burnout is definitely not just about the pandemic. Burnout it was there well before the pandemic. It's going to be after the pandemic. But the pandemic actually just really increased burnout. So yes, I've seen those similar studies. First couple months of the pandemic, we were all like, yeah, let's get this. Like, we're motivated. We're going to defeat this thing. We put extra time and energy into things. And then that's that extra level we're not used to. It's like a nitro boost in like a race car. It can make you go a little faster for a little bit, but eventually it's going to wear out. And then there's going to be a rebound effect. And so when you keep trying to push yourself past your limit, it takes a slow toll on you and it starts to wear you down cognitively, emotionally, behaviorally. And then we get into a real bad cycle that we start to do coping things to make us feel better: food, alcohol, drugs, just tuning out and watching Netflix. I think I saw a study that like the average American, I think, gained something like 30 or 40 pounds in the first year of the pandemic. Why? Because we're less active. We're also coping through comfort foods.
Screen time too, right? I mean, you're scrolling through your phone so much.
Right. And so then we do these coping behaviors that help in the short term, but create long-term consequences. And then we get this like just vicious cycle of problems that are going on.
And I want to get into that more. And I found it interesting that the World Health Organization actually recognize burnout as a syndrome, right? Not a mental health illness, but a syndrome with symptoms associated with it. And I think you've touched on it a little bit, but just to kind of get a little bit more concise here, what are some of the symptoms that come with burnout that maybe your clients have expressed or that you've seen in others through your treatment?
Yeah, so we have physical signs of symptoms. So you're feeling tired and drained. Maybe you're having headaches or just like achiness, tiredness. You might see a change in your appetite or sleep, right? We have emotional symptoms. So I'm starting to feel like anxiety or failure or self-doubt. My motivation goes down. Maybe it's a cynical outlook on things, feeling helpless, detached, less satisfaction from the work that I've always done. All of a sudden, like I'm not enjoying my job, even though I did for the last several years, right? And these behavioral changes, I'm eating more, I'm exercising less, I'm maybe snapping and lashing out at other people. Maybe I'm isolating. I don't want to like be around other people, procrastinating. It can look very different.
You could be socializing too much too. Like there could be those that are frequently going out to get escapisms, if you will, from burnout.
Yeah. So I'm actually neglecting my work because that's how I get, I feel better as I go out and socialize and hang out. So really all of those things. And so, yes, there's no like clinical diagnosis. I can't like say if you're like applying for FMLA, I can't say you have burnout. I could say you're depressed if you fit for that or anxious. So burnout's more of the syndrome, but it's definitely a thing that is real. And I see it all the time. I probably get at least one new client a week who is dealing with burnout. And I will go through this list of things. I will explain to them, I will send them readings and they'll go, that's exactly what I'm feeling. Okay, so now we have a sense of what it is. Now we can talk about what do we do about it? You can't do something about something you don't know what's going on.
Well, and you kind of went through some of the physical and maybe emotional and mental stressors that it brings up. And so what do you do? Maybe let's simplify it here. Like give me 5 strategies maybe to manage burnout, whether it's in your job or your life or your relationship or whatever you're dealing with where burnout exists. What are 5 strategies that you can use to manage it?
So one thing that I read about somewhere else that I like to use is they call it the 3R approach. So number 1, I got to recognize. I have to know what I look like when I'm burnt out. So I might eat more, whereas the other person might eat less. I need to have a sense of, oh, these are the things that start to show me that I'm tipping into this. So I got to know what the signs are, because knowledge is power, essentially. I got to know what's going on. 2, reverse. I have to undo the damage. And I do that by seeking support and then engaging in some sort of stress management cycle. So if I've never really had stress before, I might not even know what I need to deal with this, right? So let's break that down further. Seeking support. I may need to go and talk to a manager. I may need to go and talk to a partner or friends or family. And sometimes just telling people, taking away like this like stigma that like I need to pretend like I'm okay. I work with clients all the time who like they are drained even further because they have to fake that everything's okay, and that just takes more energy from them. Burnout's about energy. It's using up your energy, right? So if I get support, if I have people understand what's going on with me, they can then maybe enact something and be creative and maybe think about what and how we do that. Then I have a stress management plan, which is what are the things that I need to do? Exercise, sleep, seeing people. Different people need different things. We have to figure that out. And then we talk about the 3rd R is resilience. How do I build resilience? By creating a proactive plan around these things. So we want to turn to other people. We want to, we really need to hit it head on. And some people do need a professional to sort of work through creating a plan for that. What we really come into real troubles is like when you have an organization, like a lot of healthcare systems right now, we see this in nurses, there's a nurse shortage. So like, I can't just like bring in more nurses to help you have less shifts, which would help your sense of burnout. My nurses, because they're naturally helpers, they all are taking more shifts. Every nurse I've talked to has said that they take more shifts and it's detracting from them. And so we got to figure out something with our bosses and with our system to try to work around that.
I wanted to get into, because you brought up anxiety, you brought up depression, and I've been very vulnerable on this series. I've talked about how I to this day, I struggle with anxiety. I struggle with depression. Mm-hmm. I struggle with stress. I struggle with burnout. But what is the difference between those? Because sometimes I think maybe they can blend together, but Is
Yeah.
there differences between depression, anxiety, stress, and burnout?
Yes. So anxiety and depression are really sort of, you would see those as symptoms of stress or burnout. Stress is really sort of like a temporary thing that's because there's too much going on in your life. So if you as a news person got this, this hot story and it's going to take up the next 3 or 4 days of your life, but it's eventually going to cool down and you go back to normal, that's a stressful thing. It's time limited and you can essentially deal with it. Burnout is I'm doing too much for way too long. It's probably not as stressful day to day, although it can be, but it might be just a little shift and it takes a little toll. And it's this end state of how I feel because of the effect of stress.
It sounds simple. And sometimes it really does. You make it sound simple, Dr. Joyce, but like there can be some confusion there for those maybe that are experiencing, whether it is, oh, am I just depressed? Am I just feeling anxious about something? Or is it truly burnout? And I need to practice those 3 R's like you talked about of really going through that process.
I think those 3 R's probably will work for you regardless if you're stressed, burnt out, depressed, or anxious. And yes, people don't understand all the subtleties of these things, and that's okay. The most important thing is you going, something's wrong, and let me either try these things on my own or go see a professional. And, I work on a short-term basis. Like I'm used to seeing people for 4 or 5 sessions. This is not like I need to see you for a year to help you fix this. Like sometimes we just need to make little tweaks. It's not a huge thing. It's not even a huge hit to your pocketbook. And you could be doing a lot better in your life.